Hey guys, today's video is all about debt, and is all debt bad debt? So, can debt be a good thing? So let's get started. And there are obviously lots of different kinds of debt. You've got mortgages, credit cards, personal loans, student loans. There's loads of different types, and some need to be paid off before others. So talking about bad debt, student loans, credit cards. Credit cards probably the worst debt. That should be paid off first. Now, reason being just because they're the highest interest debts in general. Maybe they're not. If you, for example, you've got a car that's on finance and it's a huge interest rate, it's more than your credit cards, then maybe pay that off first, depending on the amount and things. So in general, credit cards is what you need to hit first. Just focus on paying that off. Credit cards really, they have their uses. You've got cash back, you've got the points, free travel and things. There certainly are a lot of positives for credit cards, especially as you can automate payments and things. But really, with credit cards, you should only be spending about 10% of your limit, and you should be paying it off in full every month. So if you've been carrying a balance, really bad idea. The interest will start to snowball out of control. So get those credit card debts out of the way. Then you're probably looking at personal loans, car finance. Never a good idea to get a car on finance really. It's always better just to buy a car that's second hand, that's 2 or 3 years old. There you're getting a good saving there in the value of the car, and it's still practically new. Obviously you need to look at mileage and things. If you do have a lot of car debt, then it may be a good idea to just sell the car to reduce the debt, and then whatever's left, then just focus on paying that out. If you've got a car that's worth 20,000, you've got 25,000, 30,000 debt, just sell the car. It will drastically reduce the debt and the payments. Buy yourself a cheap car that's 1,000 or whatever, and just work on getting that down. With student loans, if you're in the UK, you're lucky, just because you don't even have to pay off the loans until you earn above a certain amount, and even then it is quite a small amount per month. But obviously try and get that down. If you're in the United States, then student loan debts should definitely be much more of a priority. You really want to get that down straight away. Now talking about good debt versus bad debt. Well, good debt is debt really that all debt is not ideal. In an ideal world, we'll all be debt free. But sometimes a certain amount of debt can earn you more money than the payment. So what I'm talking about here obviously is real estate, property. If you put down a deposit on a house that you're going to rent out to someone else, you're probably looking at 20 to 25% deposit you typically need for that purpose, because you need a special type of mortgage for that. It's not the same as a residential mortgage. You need a bit more of a deposit. But do that on a fairly cheap property that rents well. And say it's 100,000 property. Really what you want to do is get the longest loan possible. So if you can get 30 years, get 30 years. If you can get it fixed, even better. Just because that's going to keep the payment to a minimum. And obviously as time goes on, as we that amount in 30 years is going to be worth a lot less than it is now due to inflation. The value of money goes down. So even just right off the bat, as soon as you start renting out a property, the rent is more than going to cover the payment, the mortgage. It's probably the rent may be 3, maybe even 4 times what the mortgage is. Obviously it depends on your credit, how much you've deposited, the value of the house. But as I said, buy cheap and buy low, rent high, as they say. That's the best plan. You don't want to be buying £1 million houses rent out or anything like that. So as I was saying, that payment there is, say for example it's $300. Well, your rent's you're probably looking at around $700-800. So you're easily going to pay off the payment, and then you just got extra cash flow. So what that debt is allowing you to do is to earn more money, quite a lot more money. And there are advantages as well if you buy properties with a company instead of it being in your name. That way, what you're doing basically is, if anything goes wrong, and you know it's all the properties and things are in the name of a limited company, you've got limited liability there. So even if you have to sell all of those properties, you know, for debts and things, and you still had debt outstanding, it's just in the company's name, it's not in your personal name. So your own personal assets are safe, and you just pay your wage through that company. But that just gives you an extra bit of protection from, you know, if your company, you know, if the worst happened, if, you know, you had to sell everything, you know, you were just losing so much money, whatever, that would just be on the company then. And your personal assets, if you owned your own home, for example, that would be safe. They wouldn't be able to come after that to pay the debt. It would just be a debt in the company's name. So that kind of debt, it, you know, obviously it helps you to earn more money, which then you can invest, or you can use to expand your business and make even more money, more cash flow. And then once you've built up, you know, a substantial amount of cash flow using sort of loans and refinancing, you can then, you know, focus on perhaps paying off those debts more in, you know, in bulk payments. Really, you can focus off on paying the first one, and then, you know, move on to other ones and things. Just get the payments down. So that kind of debt, you know, it doesn't have to be real estate. That's just, you know, a typical example that where it's used very effectively, and most people can sort of do that. It's not too difficult to achieve. You can obviously take out other kinds of debts as well, business loans and things. If you take out a loan for, I don't know, 50,000 for your business, and you manage to you know, buy some more vehicles so you can, you know, make more money or take on some new staff. If you can double your income, then, you know, it's worth it. You know, that debt is allowing you to make a lot more cash flow, and in return you'll be able to pay off that debt even faster anyway. So as long as debt is sort of, you know, leveraged correctly, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. There certainly is, you know, good debt and bad debt. With, you know, obviously debts that you've used for material things, for things that aren't earning you money, being the obvious bad debt. Credit card payments because you've been buying too much Louis Vuitton, obviously it's a bad debt. You know, but a mortgage is not so much a bad debt. Even a residential mortgage, obviously it's great to be able to own your your own home, and that is a debt. Unfortunately, most people are never going to be able to just buy their own home, you know, cash, at least not for many years. So mortgage is unfortunately the only option for many people, and you know it's just the way really that we have to buy our homes. It's just very difficult to save up such a huge, you know, amount of cash, especially, you know, early on in our lives. But you know, again, you know, residential mortgages, it's always worth taking out a loan so that you can buy your own home. You can obviously pay more than the actual payment. You can overpay to get that down quicker. You know, to pay off your property quicker, you need to check that there's no extra fees for this and what the maximum amount is you can pay extra per year. There are limits to this. You can't just pay, you know, whatever you want. If you get 50 grand, you can't just put 50,000. There will be fees put onto that, extra charges and things if you go over the amount that you can pay. There are certain mortgages that will allow you to pay more, you know. So just look into that. Be careful what mortgage you're taking out and things. But basically, you know, don't be scared of, you know, taking on good debt. As long as you can afford to pay it off if the worst happens, as long as, you know, your wages could cover it for a few months or whatever, as long as you've got a bit saved as well, you know, good debt can really lead you to, you know, massively increasing your cash flow per year. So don't be scared of, you know, taking out a loan, as long as you're very confident you've got maybe someone that's a bit more knowledgeable to help you with these things. And, you know, if you can increase your cash flow substantially, you know, with relatively small debt, then it's worth taking out. So just, you know, take into account not all debt is bad. You know, there are good types as well. So thanks for watching the video, guys. Give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.